กด subscribe ให้พวกเราด้วยนะคะ
Welcome to Chishidoko. What many of you might be wondering is winter in Canada. Obviously in Thailand, you don't really have any real cold weather. You don't have snow. So today we're going to walk you through how to dress in winter temperatures across Canada. Also, if you're moving in winter months, what maybe you should plan to buy as soon as you get here or bring with if you might have it already. Remember to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any content from us. Winter in Canada. Canada is a very large country. Not every province has the same winter. We have 10 provinces and 3 northern territories. For this purpose, we're going to group Canadian winter into 4 regions. We're going to start on the East Coast, including Ontario and Quebec. So East Coast would cover provinces Newfoundland and Labrador, Prince Edward Island, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and then I'm going to group Ontario and Quebec into there as well. Those provinces, that region, the winter is similar. Tends to be, again, it can be cold. It can get up to, or get down to minus 20, minus 30. Usually lots of snow, lots of humidity. And what this means is that even though it might not get as cold as other parts of Canada, I would say average there, maybe minus 15 to minus 20 in winter. But the humidity, when it's very humid air in the winter, it can make it feel a lot colder because it makes it feel damp and wet. Region number 2 for Canadian winter, we'll call this the Prairie region, and that would include the provinces of Manitoba, Saskatchewan, where we live, and Alberta, and I would say Alberta except the city of Calgary. So Prairie winter, this mainly is quite cold, dry, and it can reach, minus 40. It doesn't stay like that all winter, but it can reach very extreme temperatures. I would say in living in both the Ontario province and in Saskatchewan, the dry cold I find a lot more easy to deal with, even though the temperature is lower. The only difficult thing I would say about prairie winters is the wind. When the wind is out, it can make even minus 30 seem maybe like minus 50, depending on how hard it's blowing. Third region, I'm going to say Pacific, British Columbia basically, plus the city of Calgary. And the reason I include Calgary is because of the Rocky Mountains. It kind of has its own little weather system. It usually stays warmer there. The general British Columbia, Vancouver winters are the warmest. I would say, going below minus 10 isn't usually a common thing, but it can be very wet. It can be very icy, slippery, and wet because it gets a lot of rain there, and the rain can freeze quite quickly. Fourth region, these are the 3 northern territories across all of the top of Canada. I don't know too much about here, but you're basically in the Arctic, and it's cold. So it's not likely you're going to immigrate there, but these are extreme North Pole Arctic temperatures. So if you're going there, you better bundle up. So regardless of where you are in Canada, the winter season technically runs from mid-December to mid-March. However, the colder temperatures can start sometimes in October, November, and last into April. It really just depends on the year. But the coldest months are generally January and February. Those are the coldest months, pretty much regardless of where you are in Canada. Now that you understand kind of the winter season across the country, we'll talk a little bit about what the best things to wear, how to dress, what you might need, and dressing appropriately depending on how cold it is. Before you venture out to, start making big purchases, sometimes winter clothes can be expensive. Do you need a Canada Goose brand jacket? Probably not, but we'll walk you through the basics of dressing in winter, what's the best depending on the situation, and that'll suit your level of activity in the winter in Canada. Do you need to bring winter clothes when you're traveling from Thailand? The best answer is if you're not arriving in Canada in the winter months, you don't need to pack winter clothes. There are tons and tons of stores, online, in-store, where you can purchase winter clothes for the Canadian winter. And often, if you move in summer, spring, there'll be sales for winter clothes that you can even get items for less expensive to prepare for the next winter. We should also let you know that everyone is different. So what might feel too cold for one person might be too warm for another, depending on what you're wearing. And that's even true for Canadians. You know, it's about 5 degrees outside today. It's fall in Canada. You might see some Canadians wearing a toque, but have a t-shirt on, whereas others will be, you know, wearing a proper fall jacket or a sweater. So it is really different. You'll see some funny things here as the weather gets colder in Canada. The most general, best advice I can give to anyone who's never experienced cold winter, regardless of your cold tolerance, the best advice I can give is to dress in layers, because this allows you to take a coat off, take a sweater off, etc. if it does feel too warm. You know, everywhere, whether it's in your car, on the bus, in school, at work, in your home, everywhere has heat. So it's not like you want to be out shopping and start sweating because you're wearing really heavy winter clothes. So dressing in layers would allow you to, you know, be a comfortable temperature by, you know, taking layers off and adjusting. So, you know, on that example, even if you're going to the mall, say you have a car and you know, you're going to go outside, get in your car, drive to the mall, get out of your car and go into the mall. You might think, oh, it's minus 30 out. I should really bundle up for my trip to the mall. But you know what? You're probably going to be too warm. And if you have all this heavy clothes, you're going to be uncomfortable walking around the mall, shopping, etc. So again, the layers advice is very important. You can, you know, dress reasonably warm with a jacket, and you don't have to put on a full snow winter suit in order to do, you know, live your life in the winter in Canada. It's really about just doing what works for you, but knowing that, you know, everywhere you're going to go indoors is not going to be freezing cold. So you want to make sure you're going to be comfortable as well. There will be experiences for some of you when you are outside more, if you have to, you know, walk and wait for the bus, or if you just want to walk and get some exercise outdoors in winter. Even the idea of starting your car in winter, because often it's nice to let your car warm up as well. So a few tips for that is, again, if you're walking outside and it is minus 20, if you're walking to your bus stop and waiting, you know, minus 20, minus 30, this can be quite cold. It actually does risk, you know, damaging your skin. It's called frostbite, and it can be very serious. Not to worry though, people do it every day, all winter, all across the country, and there's easy ways to make sure you're protected when you do have to be outside in winter. Number 1, toque, cap, but it's most commonly called a toque. This keeps your ears warm. There's many different styles. Anything to protect your head and ears. Most of the heat escapes your body through your head, your fingers, and your toes. So making sure those areas are warm will actually make your entire body warmer. So 100%, the most important thing to have in the winter is something to cover your ears. Next, gloves or mittens to cover your fingers and hands. There are several different styles. Gloves will have the fingers, and I like thinner leather gloves if I'm driving. So these would be ones I would wear if I'm driving. I can also wear these if I'm just out walking around. They are very warm. They have a liner in them. It's not super thick, but they are warm. If you are out in the snow and want to do winter activities, you might want a thicker pair of mitts that are really waterproof and warm. So these are what I actually wear when I do winter activities. I used to snowboard quite a bit, so these would be what I wear when I'm doing that. These are nice as well. Again, waterproof, thick, heavy. You can tighten them up here so snow doesn't get in your wrists. And the good thing about these is also for function, the inside comes out. You can see there's a liner. And you have your index finger, so you can actually do things that require your fingers, like texting. Next thing would be, not only for fashion, but to keep your neck warm if you are outside, it's a scarf. So you would wrap it around as such. There's lots of different ways, often through there, but it can even cover your face as well. If you are going to have to wait for the bus, or you just want to be outside and get some exercise, one thing that is really nice to have is a pair of long johns to wear under your pants. So they'll keep your legs warm and provide additional, protection when it's really cold. So last but not least is your feet. Your feet, keeping your feet warm and dry is one of the best ways to stay warm in the winter. First thing, whether you're a man or a woman, get a good pair of wool socks. Wool is heavy, warm, and just great to wear within your winter boots. There's a lot of choices. One big thing to consider is not only the warmth, but the grip on the bottom of the boot, because it can be icy on certain days. So with the boot, warmth and grip on the bottom are equally important because you don't want to slip and fall. For men's boots, I generally like to buy more of like a hiking style looking boot that does come up but has a very warm liner. I believe these were purchased on Amazon for around $50 Canadian, and they are all I've worn in the winter for the past 2 years. These are perfect for me. Again, it's based on your style, but as you can see, again, very warm liner and has grip on the bottom such that it will create some traction for you when walking. Doi Hom gave me her boots, and this is one of the most common styles for women. So you can see, again, it does go up higher. It has a zipper to make it easier to go on. It is waterproof material, lined on the inside, both warmth and grip. Another thing to consider, if you do have a car in Canada when you're here and you don't have a garage to park inside, it can be more expensive, but if you are going to be here long term and the car doesn't have it, you could consider buying a remote start or a command start. What this does is it allows you to start your car remotely. People hang it on their keys. It allows your car to warm up before you get in. So there's a function on here that allows you to start your car. It keeps everything locked, and then when you get to your car, you shut it off and you start your car as normal, but it'll already be warm on the inside. It could be something to consider. One other thing I'll mention are these types of gloves, which you can find for very cheap at stores like Dollarama for, say, $2. They're all over. And these are super convenient. Tui and I both have these in our pockets, in our coats, all winter. They're not only cheap, but they're functional because they just allow you, if you're on a quick trip or just need a quick pair of gloves, to have them on. You can still function, pump gas, use your phone. In fact, some of them will have special fingerprints that you can actually use the touch screen on your phone. These are very key to Canadian winter, and they're very cheap. The biggest winter item probably on everyone's mind are coats and jackets. What to buy, how big, heavy does it need to be, how warm, what really is the best for Canada. It is a little different all across the country, but for those colder days, there are some things to be mindful of and some items, types of coats and jackets that will probably be your best bet. Well, the Canada Goose brand that I'm sure you all heard about are very nice. If you're on a budget and you don't want to spend $600-800 on a jacket, you don't need to. There are lots of winter coats, jackets that will work just fine. There are tips to be mindful of, both in terms of blocking the wind, staying really warm in the cold temperatures, and keeping any water away from your body. So there are really two main types of coats, and this would be down-filled coat, like the Canada Goose brand, and also the synthetic stuffed coats as well. Generally a combination of acrylic and polyester. Some will have a down polyester synthetic blend, but these are generally the two main types of coats. So with the true down-filled coats, these aren't actually filled with feathers. In fact, they are made from geese generally or ducks, but the down on a geese or a duck is the fluff, so to speak, below the feathers. So some of them do have a combination of the actual down and feathers, but largely down is this fluff that the animal produces, which they use to stuff the jackets. These are going to be more expensive. Not all are as high priced as the brand name ones. So the pros of real down are that they are generally the warmest. They tend to be lighter weight given how warm they are compared to synthetic. and they're also very easy to pack and travel with. And last but not least, they do tend to last the longest, so you don't have to purchase as frequently. So they can be, if they're cared for properly, they can last up to 10 years, maybe even longer. So you really have to be mindful of how long you're planning on being in Canada, what your budget is, and really what that's worth to you. So, if your plan is to really be here for the long term and you want to spend some money up front for a good coat, down might be your best option. However, the cons of down jackets, they can be the most expensive. They do lose their insulation power over time. The down filling does degrade compared to synthetic material. They can take a long time to dry if they do get wet. They can cause allergies if you are sensitive to animal products. We talked about down. What about synthetic insulation? Generally, these are blends of polyester and acrylic. And these blends both keep the water off and also act as insulator. To be honest, I've grown up in Canada. My entire life lived in Canada, and I've used the synthetic coats and jackets of a variety of types all my life. So these have worked well for me. I don't really have any complaints. Compared to down, a synthetic jacket that offers the same warmth will be heavier and bulkier. So it might, it can still be stylish, but it might feel heavier and more to, carry around. Also, with the acrylic polyester combination, with most synthetic coats they're very water resistant compared to down jackets. Though a lot of the down jackets will also have the acrylic shell, but if the water did at all penetrate, the synthetic ones do handle water and moisture better. And also no concerns about allergies. They are all purely hypoallergenic, so you won't experience any allergies from the synthetic materials. Another con compared to down is that they generally are less durable. You can buy, expensive ones that will last a long time, but over time, they can tear, rip, maybe a lot easier than the down jackets. So another beneficial aspect of the synthetic coats and jackets for winter is that if you are wanting to partake in a lot of the outdoor activities, a lot of the synthetic coats are specifically made for, snowboarding, skiing, just hiking in the winter, and will often come with a full synthetic shell, outer part that's fully water resistant, but can be quite thin. And then within that comes a zippable liner that you can zip into the coat to make it warmer. And this is very helpful that if you're doing, physical activity outdoors in the winter, if you are sweating and getting your heart rate up, the shell might be all you need. My preference, 100%, go with a coat or jacket that does have a hood. Usually they're fur-lined or synthetic fur-lined, and these hoods, even if you're wearing a toque, the hood is great as extra. It helps block the wind around your face. It's really just an added layer of protection. A lot of the jackets will come where the hood will zip off, so you can have two different styles depending on the wind, the temperature. So that's really my best advice, is to get a coat that does have a hood. One final thing, because jackets can be one of the most expensive items to purchase, regardless if you're going very, very high end, my best advice is don't go too cheap. Consider that a purchase that, maybe it's only once for 5 years, once for the 2 years you're here, but don't go too cheap. Do your research and do find a coat that will keep you warm, keep you protected in the cold months. One more final tip, if you're a man and you can grow a beard, I'd say grow a beard in the winter. It might seem silly, but growing a beard will actually keep your face warmer in the winter. We really hope you enjoyed this video learning about how to dress in Canadian winter. Please let us know if you have any questions in the comments. Let us know if you have experienced winter. What's your favorite part about it even? If you've never experienced it, it is a really cool thing to experience. Winter does get annoying after a long time, but I do like experiencing it every year. Thank you so much for watching. If there are any questions, please let us know. So to let you know, we are going to Thailand for 3 weeks, so you won't see new videos after this one for a bit, but we're coming back with a whole bunch of new content. You'll get to see me and my father in Thailand experiencing Thai culture. Thanks again for watching. Please make sure to subscribe, tell your friends, tell us if this was helpful. We really appreciate all the comments so far, all the subscriptions. We really hope this has helped you out, and really thank you again. Sawadee krap. Bye.